I think it was pouring rain. I've got some sunshine, so all good. Listen, thanks very much for giving up some time this afternoon. This is the third and kind of final instalment of our engagement session relating to our new care at home framework for older adults. The idea behind this, for those that maybe haven't joined before, is that the HSEP have noted that they need some additional support around their older adults care at home provision, and we have a small kind of pool of very good providers who we work with just now, and we kind of realised that we needed to open that out a little bit as well. So we thought a good way to do that would be through the realms of a framework. But what I didn't want to do, being quite a new commissioner, is sit in a room, draft it up, stick something out in Public Contract Scotland, and then just kind of sit back and wait to see what happens. I was quite keen to do something that was a little bit more engaging, that sought views from yourselves, so kind of, I suppose, subject matter experts in the area, and I want to take views from our own internal staff teams, and also take views from those who are impacted by the service delivery as well, so our carers and those receiving care at home. So I'm actually meeting with the carers of Western Partnership on Monday. I'll have another follow-up with them afterwards as well. So it's that idea to try and kind of catch as many views as we can, so that when we are drafting up what the kind of the delivery needs to look like, we've got a bit more information, we're a bit more informed. And I gave the caveat right at the very beginning: we might not get it right all the time. There might be things in there that you might not quite agree with, but I think the idea being is that we've tried to reach out and gain and seek the views and include them as best as we possibly can do. So with that in mind, this session we were looking to talk about commonality of language, and this is something that came through in the previous session and even in the beginning, was that quite often something will be written down in a service spec and it will mean one thing to one person and another to somebody else and another to somebody else. So I thought, what's the way in which we can kind of try and get around that slightly and get a bit more kind of clarity around about the communication, about what we're looking for. As we've been going through this, it's been really important. I think one of the really solid bits of feedback we've had from you guys is that ability to kind of chunk up the framework into lots. And an extension of that is, I suppose, a bit of an understanding that people's needs who come through the framework will vary, and we need to be able to ensure that we categorise them kind of appropriately, so we're getting the right support in the right location, in the right areas. But there can also be variables within that support, so you can have somebody who requires what we might class as low support, moderate support, or complex support, and then there are those who may require palliative or end of life. And my point is that they all might mean different things to different people. And I think today would be quite good just to focus on, if we were to say somebody is requiring a low need, what would that mean and what could that look like? And I've had a similar session with our internal staff teams and asked them exactly the same question. And it was quite an interesting exercise, and again, I've got their feedback. Before we go into discussion, one of the tools that I was asked to have a look at, and bear in mind that I don't come from an older adult kind of background, was the Rockwood Frailty Scale as a starting point. And that might be familiar to some people, it might not be familiar to everyone. It's accessible. If you do a Google search for the Rockwood Frailty Scale, you'll be able to find that. I don't need to get bogged down into the detail of that just now. But my point is, if we were to utilise something like this, we might not all agree that that's the most effective tool, but what it does do is it gives us one singular kind of tool to reference and gives some consistency to our approach. So that I just wanted to kind of highlight that before we go forward. So discussion points. I suppose, are quite simple. And again, I know not everybody likes to talk, or you might be in a busy office, so feel free to use the chat function. But I'm keen to get everybody's kind of viewpoints on, if we were to say that somebody who had met the eligibility criteria to receive a care at home package was to come through the framework, and we class them or define them, categorise them, whichever way, as low need, what would you anticipate that person's needs as being? And again, people can jump in and take a wee bit of time just to mull that over, or pop some remarks out on the chat function. And it's really just a starting point to gauge. So low need. So would folks agree that somebody who's got low needs, maybe they don't need assistance with medication? Maybe they need a prompt though, or perhaps it's maybe more social support that they're requiring. Or again, there's language involved in these. Maybe it's a very simple kind of support with their morning routine and support with their evening, their nighttime routine. And essentially that would really be it. So it's kind of quite a low level based approach for support. Does that resonate with people? Do folk have a different view to that? What's your thoughts? And we've got Anna.
I think there's probably a conversation to have about it not necessarily just being the level of need in the circumstances the person lives in. So if it's a couple and that person doesn't have medication or just requires a prompt and needs assistance with breakfast, but there's somebody else there who could help if in an emergency, that might be something to take into consideration. But I'm not too sure whether, I don't know, maybe just being at social care, there is nobody who gets services that are low need anymore. Everybody's at quite a critical need to get social care. So I'm not too sure if we need to look at the circumstances as well as that person's actual needs.
Yeah, so are you talking, Anna, in terms of you would look at the wider care around to see, and I suppose what we would be driving at, and it might be that you're absolutely right, that there's minimal amount of support. Those types of packages may not be around, but what we're looking to hopefully do is do a bit of future proofing for this and making sure that we look beyond just what's happening right now and go to, like, and I'm not saying that things will be massively different in 2, 3, 4 years time, but the framework I'm really hoping will be a minimum kind of 5-year kind of term, and it'd be good to get some of those definitions just kind of agreed, or at least spoke about just now, because there could be circumstances where that individual, as you've described, that may have that requirement of need, but actually they might not have a support network around them, and it may be that it's a social care service that's required for them.
Also, we're looking at, as you say, into the future, looking at a more preventative model of care. That's definitely when it would come in. So it doesn't necessarily mean that person couldn't manage without that today, but maybe we're looking at adding the support in so that if things progress, it's manageable for them, and we're just there with a bit of assistance rather than them being then at a more critical need.
Yeah, I think that's helpful. Anyone else want to input into that? No, Anna, you've hit the nail on the head then. Well done. Definition of low need tick. Obviously, we've got some other things we can add to that kind of as well, which I think will probably help. And some of it might be aligned to medication and the sharing of our medication policies, etc. But okay, we make sure all that happens. If that's required, then we probably move to a more, see what we get through this section. If we were to look at like a moderate need of support, care and support from a social care setting and older adults, what could that the types of supports that you think would make up or would make a package up that would sit within a moderate kind of setting? Some of our staff had looked at kind of what the medication requirements might be for that individual. They've looked at personal care arrangements, then they've looked at actually what types of support kind of is it that person maybe requires. Alistair, do you want to come in?
Yeah, you're very much touching on the areas of support that I would immediately thought of if describing moderate need, probably some personal care requirements and more involvement in administering medication. And maybe touching on Anna's point as well, maybe a bit less presence or involvement of wider family members and a bit more reliance on paid support for meeting some of those needs.
Thanks, Alistair. Anna, I can see your hand up.
Maybe as in meal preparation and safety checks.
I also throw into the mix here, and this, I don't know, might be controversial, might not be, but we're a small kind of panel, so we can go for it. Where someone has a clinical diagnosis of some form of brain impairment, such as dementia, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, something like that, but it's at the very, very early stages, would you automatically think that that person should enter into moderate and progress through complex, or could you look at it through the lens of somebody still just needing a minimal base of support, they're still able to function, they may need some prompts, they may need some basis of support? But what would be your views on somebody with a clinical diagnosis of a condition such as Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, dementia?
I think you could look to progress them through that route. So somebody from an initial diagnosis where they're still able to have some form of independence, etc., and little or a small amount of care needs. But again, should that condition progress, then you would look at moving them on a kind of more immediate, moderate or high.
Yeah. Thank you, Kirsty. Anna.
Sorry, I seem to be the only one talking. My only caveat was I think you need to be careful about when there is a diagnosis, because if the diagnosis hasn't happened until quite a late stage, because people aren't getting diagnosed really at the early stages sometimes, if we've got a model that says on diagnosis, that's not going to work, because by then actually they're most likely quite progressed.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, actually, in terms of where, in the wider kind of clinical picture, what can happen, and often providers will be supporting somebody through that, and then there is a kind of a diagnosis. Elsa, so your hand was up and it's back down again. Did you have anything you wanted to add, or was it a Alexia hand? I wasn't sure.
Sorry, it was a very old hand. I think folks are touching very well on a bit of the challenge and difficulty that there fundamentally is as well with trying to classify people's needs in this way as well. Is that things can quite rapidly and progressively change.
Yeah. And
if we do have low, moderate, high complex needs or classifications, you're inevitably
initially, because you are right, some of the when an assessment takes place and determines what level of support, that can change really quickly, and almost it can change overnight. Somebody could have a fall, and then as a result, their needs can very quickly increase, and they may never able to go back to where their needs kind of once were. And I think one of the things that I'm hoping to do through all of this, and partly a good point was inviting our staff along to a similar, is to show that when we are assessing, when we're going through whichever allocation procedure that our operational colleagues go through, that we're trying to look at it through the same lens, that we've got the same types of decisions. We might have slightly different paperwork, but we're trying to do it in the same kind of way, adopt a similar type of process, so that we cut down. And I'm not saying this happens a lot, but I'm sure it has happened where a package of care is provided to one of you guys, and when you've started to deliver that, you very quickly realise that either what you've been asked to deliver isn't appropriate or isn't quite right because of the person's needs, and it's either the assessment's not picked up something properly or something's happened. In that way, we want to kind of make sure we get things right kind of from the very beginning, as and when we can. Guys from Altogether Care, I can see you there and your hands are up.
Hi Neil, it's Laureen. I think basically what you've just said is what I was going to say. I mean, I understand where you're coming from in terms of the assessment. What we have found just now is that all service users are categorised right away, and when we get them and maybe they need more help or support, it takes a long time because some these are now being held to have to reassess. The reassessing can take work, so it might cause more work also internally. And do we have the manpower to support something if it starts at one area and it does gradually move on? Do you have the manpower for people to get out and be assessed quickly enough for providers?
And that comes to capacity question. So you broke up a wee bit during that, Lorraine. I got the gist, which is that's fine if people need to be reassessed, but does the HSEP have the internal capacity to do that, and to do that well,
yes,
but in a timely fashion as well?
Yeah.
And to be honest, we are in a process of doing or having our own, the redesign of our own internal care home service, and we're also redesigning what our allocation, our adult allocation resource group looks like and how it functions as well, particularly to address that type of question, not just solely within older adults, but within the wider spectrum of care and support that we provide. So we have recognised that as a gap and there's a potential risk there. But we
some people
now, yep.
See even some that come straight out from, for example, a hospital discharge.
Yep.
It's very, very basic information that you get, that we end up getting all the information ourselves.
So we have to go gather it, yeah.
And create a better support plan than what we were actually given in the first place. Very, very minimum.
Yes, and been made aware of that and passed that feedback has gone back to our operational colleagues. And one of the key points, and I don't know if this has just been localised to West London for whatever rhyme or reason in this area, but the flow of information has never been that great. And I don't really know why that is. We've maybe held on to some documents for longer than is necessary, who knows. But one of the things I've made very clear when I facilitate the sessions with staff is whatever information we hold for that individual, and if a provider is coming in to deliver the service, that has to be shared. And it's not because it's overkill of information, it's all to do with ensuring that person's care support is delivered appropriately and accurately from day one. There may be times where there's almost an emergency or a crisis situation, and we might not have all of the details to hand all at once, and that's where we want to work with you to get that information, collate it all, and do it all properly. But where there's a planned transition, there should be no reason why you don't have all of the information that you need in order to brief your staff and teams, to ensure you've got the right training, that you've got the right staffing complement in place, so that there are no surprises. There should be no reason why we can't do that. And again, one of the kind of other kind of critical pieces of work which we'll be doing is restarting either we'll be restarting a provider engagement forum for care home for older adults. We'll do it for all of our areas that we work in as well. But with the framework, we'll have a proper contract monitoring procedure, and that's not just for us. And it's not about marking people's homework or anything like that. I don't want people to take that away. The contract monitoring will be a two-way, so it should absolutely be at that point where every quarter we get together, and if you've received packages that don't have the information, whatever, and you've got a log of them, then that's the time you would bring that to that meeting space. It would be myself, my colleague Dana, who I think I can see our name on the call there, will be in amongst all of that. We'll be developing a quality assurance framework. And again, like most of the work that we want to do, Dana and I aren't going to sit in a room in isolation and develop a framework and just punt it out to you guys and say, right, can we get this back every quarter? We'll develop a core, and then we'll come out and we'll have a chat through a provider engagement forum similar to this, but maybe on a more structured basis, and ask what else should we be including within our wider quality assurance procedures. Because again, I want to make sure that we don't have duplication. I want to make sure that the information we receive, you're able to provide to us and it's meaningful. So they're the three kind of key considerations in all of that. But again, those contract monitoring meetings, it's not all about, it shouldn't ever be all about the HSCP coming in to check up on what's been done or not done. It's very much a case of it's a relationship building exercise about understanding your service better, seeing how things have been progressing, what challenges you've faced, how are things going with the care inspectorate, what support do you need from us, because I recognise that if we're not giving you the right information, that can impact upon the care inspectorate when they come in and look at your services and ask questions. So we need to be aware of, and very acutely aware of what that is and what that means. So in a fairly long-winded way, Lorraine, I hope that addresses parts of your question. Again, we can't give concretes on all these things because there is a lot of things that are up in the air at the minute, but that's the direction of travel that we want to go in. But the point about capacity is understood and recognised, and there's work underway to address that. And the monitoring piece, I think we've covered. Anna?
I remember I answered this in the last meeting, but at the moment, your in-house versus, for want of a better word, external provision is about sort of 90-95%.
It's, yeah, our in-house services provision is really high.
Mm-hmm.
And with that brings all numbers of capacity challenges. And what we're looking to do through the impact of the framework and the revision of our applications is making sure that we can use our provider network much more effectively to alleviate and work in tandem with our care at home, our internal care at home service. So it's not about replacing one with the other or anything like that. It's to get that better balance to ensure capacity. That's really the way to work this. And the kind of other point I'd like to make on that, the underlying reason for doing all of this is self-directed support. If we deliver everything internally and don't have any, or have very a small external provision, then I can't see how that complies with self-directed support legislation, how we're given choice and control about people and how they want their care to be delivered and what they want their care to do. So I'm very keen to ensure that as we develop and improve our own self-directed support provision within and offering within the HSCP, we have the frameworks in place to take that up. So we should be having conversations with individuals about a package of care. So it shouldn't just be, yes, it can be a default, it can go to the internal service because the care package is required kind of 5 minutes ago, and there needs to be that immediate, and we may be best placed to do that, but that's not to say that we are that person's answer to their care and support. We need to be going through, as we have the assessment process, go through and explain to them what their SDS options are, what that means, who's in our what provider network that we have available to us, and it's then for the individual, their carers, their families, etc., to choose what's the most suitable and appropriate way for them to have their care delivered to them.
And is the HSCP looking at sort of increasing your provision and decreasing the in-house? So normally other HSCPs are around about sort of some 50-50, some at 60.
Yeah. So that might be an impact of having the framework, is that balance starts to get addressed. It's very, very high over at the internal end, and we need to just address that balance. And again, I don't want to give everybody loads of false hope that it's going to be hundreds of thousands of hours getting passed through the framework, because that may not be the case. But the idea is we need to have a better support network for our care at home internal provision. And I want to be really clear, and my expectation that I've set internally for this is that it needs to be a fair process, so that just because it's either difficult or internal don't want to do it, then it gets chucked to providers. That's not the way to do it. It has to be done in a proper and quality assured way to make sure that people are getting the right support. It's all back to them. It's not about what suits the HSCP's needs. It's really about what's going to suit the individual's needs and what their requirements are.
We don't provide services at the moment, but I have a long history of working with a company that has provided services for many years there. And it would be difficult to set provide a framework up if there isn't a certain volume in their work. Providers aren't going to be able to pick up one or two clients. There needs to be a certain volume for it to be sustainable for a provider to come into the area.
If they're only going to get a 15-minute package here and there, then we're not going to be able to attract. Again, this is why we're having an open framework as well, because as we are going into what is fairly uncharted territory for the HSCP in terms of having a framework that's set up with SDS right at its soul, is that and having such a high reliance on our internal, is that we don't have accurate enough data that we can give you to say, here's a ballpark. I know from looking at other frameworks where I've been working for providers that you can get an estimation of what the hours are. Because we're almost not starting from scratch, we're starting from a bit of a basic. We don't have that, and I'm not keen to give information that could give a bit of a falsehood. So that's partly my thinking behind having an open framework. Yes, there's an SDS angle to that, absolutely. But the open framework is we need to allow providers to come and join, but to not be forced or penalised for knocking back a package because it's not a big enough package for them to take on, to allow them to start their infrastructure to get set up. So there's a chicken and egg scenario there, but my thought process was, and sharing it with colleagues, was if we have an open framework, it's easier to have those discussions and to allow people to come on, and then allow people to withdraw if they feel that they're not able to, if it's not for them. Because there's no point in having a framework where we say, oh, it's okay, we've got 90 providers on our framework, but actually there's only 12 of them that deliver services. So it's really having that balance. And as we go forward, and again, the other reason for having a longer term framework is we can start to gather up that data, understand that journey of what hours we can start to give some information about. Well, this is the number of hours put last year, forecasting wise it'll either be the same or it might be a little bit more. That's really where we would want to get to. But because this is the first iteration of it, I would be concerned about putting in a nominal hours figure just in case it wasn't quite accurate. That's the honest opinion there. Kirsty, I can see you've got your hand up. You've been very patient.
Okay. Probably just reiterating a bit of manner there. It's obviously extremely difficult to deliver care at home at the moment. If was your answers for most of those, if you promote that from assessment stage to say we have a number of providers, here's who they are, here's who they look at, the likelihood is that a lot of them will not be able to say, no, I actually can't offer that service because I've got nothing in the area and I can't ask staff to travel 40 minutes for a 30-minute service 4 times a day. So I don't think you're going to get probably a true reflection on what SDS is at the start.
And I think that is the at the start piece, and we first of all don't disagree, because I've been in exactly that scenario where we're on a framework that we're maybe not in the area just yet, but where it's part of our growth plan. And how do you then, you need to wait for that kind of almost the kind of the golden egg, as it were, to go, right, that's the package that we can take, and that's what we can start to build on. But they don't come along very often, and that is challenging, but we have to start somewhere. And that's why I'm probably quite wedded to the idea of doing it, and then as we go through adapting it as when we need to. To get that true reflection of what providers are actually available, we would be able to say that to individuals we're having those discussions. Yes, we might have 15 on a framework, but actually there's 10 that are in our local area who are working just now, and there's these other 5 aren't. So you may find that they're not able to take on your package, but you have to go and have that conversation with them. It's not for us to make that determination, but we have to set a level of expectation. In other words, you end up getting lots of these referrals coming through, and the worst thing for providers to always have to say is no, because that doesn't sit within your ethos, it doesn't sit well within your vision either, for what you're looking to do. But we have to start somewhere. And whilst it's not, we're not all agree on that as a starting place, I think for us we have to put that out there from the beginning. I know that might not answer your question, Kirsty, but at least it gives some context.
It doesn't answer. It answers it, however, it just obviously, we're obviously in the area, so we've already kind of established a certain amount of work for the area, but I think the fear of new providers probably trying to come in and starting within that and waiting for somebody picking them out of SDS with no other work around it is probably would fill me with fear.
That's a good point. It's a fair point as well. Anyone else from self-directed support angle got anything they'd want to add into that? Or in general, just anything that you think the HSCP should be aware of?
I just think the cost of recruiting staff to try and retain them, pay them properly, contracts, etc. To wait for packages under SDS that become available would be quite difficult.
I'm on an SDS contract with Glasgow, and we've got this with lots as well, and it was pretty straightforward for us, I have to say, because we decided what we wanted to go for rather than everything. We picked our own areas, we picked locations based on where we thought we could grow, and I quite like it. But what I've found throughout the process is the social workers are not clear on things. So, for example, if there's they can't tell the difference between someone getting money as a direct paying for their own care privately or through the actual contract as an SDS payment. They're very confused. So I would say that maybe if we're going down that route, we've got a terrible service here now.
Okay.
If we're going down that route, a lot of training would need to happen for the people who are offering the service to the service users. because that's what we
So,
found has been very unclear. I think even with small places, because we've had ones on SDS that have been taken off as in-house, which really shouldn't have happened either.
yeah, no, I'd agree. So I love it when I get a question like that or a comment like that, when I can comfortably turn around and say, my colleague Cheryl Taylor, who is the HSCP's self-directed support lead, is developing and working with our OD team to have a refresh of all of our self-directed support training materials. So that's properly embedded. The differences are added, are explained. We're linked in with the right SDS networks, but we've got the training there because it's the training that gives it the confidence for folks to have the conversations and to have them well. And we've got the mechanics behind us in terms of the way our My Life assessment tool is going to work, and we're linked in with the Helen Sanderson training for just enough support as well. So we're really adopting that ethos of yeah, it's fine to talk about self-directed support, but we need to have the infrastructure behind us so that our social workers are comfortable. They know they know the differences, and we are comfortable that they are having the correct conversations, and we don't have scenarios where packages get moved around, for want of a better word, because of somebody's not defining it properly or not understanding what's happening. So we have proper plans in place for all of that, and again, that will happen concurrently with the lifespan of the framework as well. Anna.
I was just really going to follow on with what Kirsty was saying, but also what Lauren was saying. I'll do Lauren first because it's nice and easy. But I think with SDS, I mean, I have recently, and I kid you not, within the last couple of months, had a local authority ask us for option 5 SDS. And then challenged me when I said there aren't 5 options. Would you like to go back and clarify option 1, 2, or 3? And then in the end, they came back and said, it'll just be easiest for us to do option 3. So yeah, there is definitely lack of understanding. And I think if I hear one more time that an SDS option 1 equals a PA only that needs to be privately engaged, I might just scream. I suppose it might be unpolitical to say. I think my concern is I've got lots of experience with Western Bartonshire even. We were one of the providers, main providers there for many years. I also know I don't want to tar other people, but there is definitely a anti-independent sector provider. I don't even know how to sort of say thinking behind it, and even when they would rather have an agency worker come in and put that package out to an independent sector. So
yeah.
When I'm looking at, I want to develop a business, I want to come into Western Bartonshire, it's strategically a good area, it's in amongst between areas. But then I'm looking
for you.
What's the point? If they're 95% in-house, there's not really any, and I absolutely get what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying, but there's no indication that that's going to drop to 60%. Is there a market there for us? As Kirsty says, are we going to be given, a couple of packages of half an hour a day?
Yeah. No. So that is an interesting take. And I suppose sitting here, I can't disagree with what you've said in terms of that approach. What I would say is the very fact that I suppose the head of service, the IOMs, the senior managers in the area, and actually there has been quite a big turnover in management staff within care at home. That in itself will mean that the changes that we're looking to put through and the way in which the framework has been received, or the planning for the way the planning sections have been received, have been really positive, because they can see it as supporting the capacity. It's a cultural shift that's underway, and that's a positive in all of this. And I suspect it's why we're in a 95%.
Yeah. I mean, it is positive. We've never had this kind of engagement.
Yeah.
With Bristol Branches, so that is a huge positive step. But is it just a nice positive, we'll engage, but actually it won't change yet?
Well, that's what I'm hoping would happen, and that through the work that I'm doing internally will be one of the small changes that will help to ensure that that's not the case. It's not to say that the day that the framework goes live, there will be a flood of work going through it. I do see it probably being a bit of a slow burn initially, of course. That's possibly the inner pessimist in me as well, but I would like to be very realistic to go. I don't expect that the first day that the framework goes live that we've got kind of loads of packages going through, but what I am setting up for is the capacity. Our in-house services is at capacity. So it's that question of what do we do, and commercially, why are we having an agency worker delivering a package of care when we've got professional providers set up ready to do that? The agency piece, and there's no disrespect to any recruitment agencies who are operating and delivering. They're there they're there as a flexible resource, not to stack up capacity. It's two very different things. And if we are at capacity, we need to rely on our provider network to support us through that. And we can only do that when we've got a proper and defined process for that to happen, which is what the framework is there to do, and why we're redesigning the allocation resource group, so it takes that into consideration. So that if the in-house is at capacity, then it should automatically go to providers. That would be the ways we've got that proper throughput. And when somebody's coming in to receive a care home service through the My Life assessment, it's not just a default position of internal. It's absolutely the individual's choice for that. Kirsty.
I'm just wondering whether or not, I know it's a new framework under that terms, but I'm wondering whether through your internal review process, whether you are offering those options out to, because at the moment 95% in-house, they don't have a lot of options. I'm wondering whether some work that's already been provided in-house, are the conversations going to happen with those clients also?
For me, and this is coming from somebody, I'm not an operational person, I don't have that background, but those conversations should be taking place as a minimum at every review that takes place. And I know we've not been great at doing reviews, and that again, there's work, all these issues that we know we're aware of, we are addressing, but during that assessment process, that self-directed support conversations should be happening. Whether it's a new review, whether it's a review that somebody's come up for a review, something's happened within their care, and they need their package has been reviewed. Self-directed support should be those conversations should be happening at each and every single point of those. Whether they're happening right now at all those stage gates or not, I can't comment on because I'm not in the detail, but certainly the expectation that we've set is that that's what should happen as a minimum.
The other question that I had was, what internal kind of safeguarding have you built in for feedback that process is working through the assessment and review process? How can an independent provider or a client that wants to have true SDS have that guarantee? You've put something in to monitor and review your services?
So the quality assurance that I was talking about, that quality assurance will not just be for our providers, it will be for our internal service provision as well. And there will also be certain things that we'll want to audit and check and pick up on. And that's what my colleague Cheryl Taylor and her team within the SDS leads team will look at and feed into. Because if we don't do that, then the people that will pick up on that will be the care inspectorate, and we'll get hauled over the coals for that. Absolutely. And none of us want to have that happen again. That's partly the reason that Cheryl's team are doing the work that they're doing, and they will feed into that quality assurance piece as well. So again, none of it will be easy, and none of it will happen overnight. But the points that you make are valid, but at least we are aware, and these are the measures that we're putting in place, or we will be putting in place to help support and address them. Because you're right, there's no point of it's nice to have great words on a page, but if you can't back that up in any way, or you can't quality check, or you can't safeguard, then really what's the point? It's been really good. It's really interesting. Kind of difficult questions, but good questions. And it's good to have that open and honest. And again, I hope I'm not just giving what you think is a party line back, but I'm trying to give like a genuine kind of response back to these are where we are with the challenges that you've raised. And we may not have all the answers, but we're certainly looking to make some better improvements and bigger steps than perhaps what we've made before. But again, there isn't a switch that will change that overnight. Anything else folks want to raise while you've got us? Anna?
Just, could you remember the timings again for me? So,
yeah, yes.
And how the tender will come out? Is it going to be the traditional long process of lots of documents and things? Or
so good question. So I will be looking to have the tender published kind of towards probably mid-May to give plenty of time for responses to be put together and completed and submitted before the schools go off for summer holidays, because let's be fair, we've all been in a situation, I include myself in that, where the day of the school holidays out pops 2 or 3 tenders and it's a nightmare. So we want to try and do that, not to do that, which we've got plans to do. Your other part of your question, will it be kind of 100 documents that require 1,000 words or 2,000 characters per statement? Short answer is absolutely not. We'll be looking to use we talk about just enough support. I talk about just enough due diligence. It needs to be proportionate to what we're asking. If we're not making any commitments to work because it's a framework, then we shouldn't be asking our providers to give us their life stories. The things that are important to me are quality. So there'll be probably a statement about quality, about what your quality assurance internal measures are. Other things that are important to me are staff training and wellbeing. So what do your training pathways look like? What are your wellbeing practices? What does your supervision look like? And finally, there will be a question, I would imagine, on outcomes. We'll ask you for the usual financial due diligence stuff, your insurance, the care inspection reports, your registrations, that kind of stuff. But nothing kind of like, here's 14 questions on outcomes, and actually 6 of them are the same, they're just rewritten differently. And can you tell us how you deliver this whole service in 2,000 characters, please? I'm not going to do that because I don't see the value of it. I've been in your side of it where we've had to respond, and you have that thought of going, how can you possibly describe in 2,000 characters what it is, how you're going to deliver the service, and that type of thing. So I'll be keeping it as keen and as light as possible. The open framework The nature of that will mean that if somebody new wants to join at any time during the period, then they'll have to complete exactly the same paperwork as well. But we're hoping all existing providers will, and those who have been on the call kind of over the last few couple of months, will want to join from the very beginning. That would be the case. Again, partly this is why we're partnered with SDP for this as well, so that those that aren't as familiar with what a tender process is and what needs to happen, they've got support on that basis through the SDP programmes of work that are ran, which are incredibly helpful and are a really good resource. And if there is anybody in the call who's having a bit of a kind of a difficult time getting their head around what a tender is and feeling that it's quite a stressful period having to think about that, then absolutely engage with SDP. They'll keep you right in all of those angles. But as a commissioner, I'm very keen to make sure that it's as light as possible, but as pointed and as relevant as possible, so it won't be War and Peace.
I think that's a very good time to tell you what's on your calendar between now and your deadline, which will be in addition to using the actual contract as the subject matter of the training. So as soon as this contract has been published, we will diarise another session for you guys. Now, at the moment, it's on the calendar for the 11th of May, but obviously that's subject to change depending on when Neil and his team and Susan can get the contract published. But as soon as it's published, at least maybe a week after publication, so you've had a chance to open the documents and have a look at the questions as best you can, so that you're preparing to ask our experts some questions or any areas that you're struggling with. And the training will be at least a week or 10 days before the clarification box closes. So somewhere in the middle, so you've still got access to your buyer, you've had a wee look at the questions, then we will walk through the journey that you're going to walk through. We will locate the notice, the contract advert in Public Contract Scotland, we'll search for it, we'll find it, and then we'll follow the buyer's instructions to get ourselves into the tender documents themselves. Then we'll open up the questions, we'll have a look at the SPT, we'll have a look at some of the questions, and our experts who were buyers in previous lives, who are now small consultancy firms, will explain what good looks like and what sort of evidence you should bring to the table to back up and confirm your experience and the answers that you're giving the buyer. So we'll have a good we'll look at what good looks like with regards to getting top marks for every question that you're answering. We'll show you how to use the portal so that you can ask questions of the buyer during that period where they can't have a conversation with you, but they can answer questions through the Q&A functionality. So we'll show you how to use that effectively. We'll show you how to validate before you go right through to submission. So all of that you'll be able to watch live online before you're expected to do it. If you feel that you want to watch us, absolutely join us. Register yourself just now for the 11th of May one if you want to, and then we'll keep you up to date with any changes that happen with that date, because we're also monitoring and keeping in touch with Neil and Susan with regards to dates. But in addition to that, we have a 2.3 understanding and bidding for frameworks and dynamic purchasing systems, which a dynamic purchasing system is very similar to what Neil and his team are doing with like a framework that you'll be bidding for. So it comes under that same remit, and that was on the 4th of May at 1:30, an hour and a half. Let's explain to you what the difference is between a framework and a dynamic purchasing system or a flexible framework. 2.4, improving your bid scores to increase your tender win rate. That was on Tuesday the 9th at 1:30. Quick quotes made easy. Now the call off process very well might be the quick quote process that the guys will use when they're calling off the framework. So we go through that one from A to Z, the whole process of the quick quote process. That was on Tuesday 23rd at 2 in the afternoon. Then responding to policy tender requirements. That one's at 1:30. All of the policy templates are on our website for you guys to give you a starter for 10 if you don't have policies in place. Then have a wee look at the templates and give yourself that wee start. There is also understanding your role in contract management. So once you are awarded onto the framework, how do you manage a big contract like this one? So that was on the 30th of May. And all of them are in addition to the one that's the 11th of May, which is called Social Care Services, Western Partnership, aligned tender training, and that's where we're going to use the actual contract. So Neil, that seems like a good point for me to come in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I would again really urge anybody who's feeling a bit anxious, a bit nervous about tendering, who's maybe not done it before, to jump in those, or even those who want a bit of a refresh. They will be really good and really useful. I will do, when I'm putting the documentation together, I'll do my best to not get lost in any jargon and to try and keep it as plain English as possible, use examples as well to help with that. As I said, might not get it right all the time, but I would rather put that out there at the beginning, not as a license for me to make a mistake, but to really just set that scene to say, look, this is new. It's new for Western Partnership. We are keen to get it right, but the only way we can do that is to work together in a proper collaborative fashion. So yeah, anybody got anything else they want to add? I know we've still got a wee bit extra time, but feel free if you've got anything else you want to go over. No? Stunned into silence. We do go through, obviously there'll be the Q&A process that will be set up through the tender as well. We'll obviously answer as many questions as what we can do with that. But in the interim, if there is anything that you wanted to discuss or wanted to make me aware of in the context of a care at home framework, then you can drop me an email and connect in with me that way as well. Obviously, once the tender is live, we have to kind of go into that kind of radio silence kind of mode unless it's all done through public contracts. But up to that point, if there are things you think, by the way, Western, you really need to know about this, or this happened, or perhaps there's a really good service specification that you're operating and working to just now, that you want to share with us and you feel it's appropriate to do so, then great, let us know. I think you will have my email address, I think. If not, I can drop it in the chat just now. And I see Alistair's comment there about what was option 5, and Anna, what were you tempted to go back to them with as a response to what option 5 was? Guys, apologies for the brief radio silence here. I can't do two things at once, so type and talk. So yeah, I suppose just on behalf of the Contracts Commission quality team, I'd like just to thank everybody for giving up time over the last few months to come and give their input. It's been quite small groups, which is good. We've covered plenty. It's been really interesting to hear everybody's feedback and comments. They've all been really meaningful, and they'll absolutely help shape what the framework looks like. Once the framework goes out, that's not the end. We'll have a provider engagement network, so we'll get set up, and again we can look at making amendments where we need to make sure things reflect practice as well. So it'll be an evolving process too. So yeah, thanks very much everybody for their input, and also big thanks to STP